Welcome to the recording of Guru Singh's masterclass on Kundalini awakening and self-mastery. This was actually a live session. It's just that I forgot to press record for the first few minutes. I'm re-recording the introduction for you. So for those of you that don't know Guru Singh teaches at Life Mastery recently, and he's been teaching on the spiritual platinum partners trips for quite a few years now, and he's presented at Day with Destiny, doing the gong work every so often as well. So we're gonna find a lot of golden nuggets in these sessions, and if you wanted to go deeper to learn more from Guru Singh, you can go to his website, kundaliniuniversity.com, and it's framed as a teacher's yogi teacher training, but that's probably more so for the keywords that people are searching for. This is actually a self-mastery program that Guru Singh have designed together with another instructor called Brett. And it's a really powerful course. It's got a lot of wisdom that is hard to find anywhere else. And to thank, in recognition of you being part of Tony's community, for the March 21st course that's starting in 2021, you can put in the promo code Tony 2021 in uppercase, and you'll be eligible for a 10% discount exclusively for you guys. So I guess just to give you a quick intro on how this masterclass came about. I met Guru Singh in 2021 when Tony and Sage put together a spiritual trip to India. Back then, I was a successful entrepreneur in my own right. My company was the second best place to work in Australia. So I was having fun. I was having a lot of happiness, and my company was growing strong. Back then, I did no meditation, and that wasn't my thing. And I remember when we did the first few meditation on these platinum partnership trips, different people started seeing rainbows and dragons and different things, and like I'm seeing nothing. Like I'm feeling how cold the air conditioning is. So that was me at the time, and I guess like looking back, you can. For those of you that attended Day with Destiny would know that the spiral dynamics is the archetype of how humanity evolved in a level of consciousness. It's a framework to describing it. And myself, I'm in the orange category, which is achiever, entrepreneur, success, and it's all about me, but it seemingly is about how do we thrive in this capitalist society. And my goal at the time was how do I bring happiness, success, and fun to 500 million people? And I thought it was a grand, audios goal. But now that I recognize, because there's a part of me that is not enough, I need to bring happiness to the more people, the better it is. And yeah, it was just chasing material wealth, outside wealth and friends' approval, family approval. And a few years later, after this event, actually I'll share some pics from the events as Tony hugging one of the platinum partners and Sage on stage, and with Guru Singh as well. And we were on the streets of India and just going sightseeing and visiting some of the spiritual places. It was a really great trip. But in that trip, I got to know Guru Singh. Like he dressed like this spiritual person, and he is spiritual, but yet he's so down to earth, so funny. He's like your best friend that you just hang out with. So totally relatable. So a few years ago, I started meditating after this trip. Not regularly, I'm a slow learner. It took me a while. And one of the things I found is my brain kept reacting to different things that's being triggered. And despite all the personal development that I've done, it's no good to me if I react first before I became conscious or before I became aware of my reptilian brain of fight and flight triggers. So one of the things I started doing, learning from Prodigy from O&O Academy, she said, well, if you focus on your middle of your brain, which is called the mid prefrontal cortex, it's the calm part of your brain, and you just bring calmness to it. So through my meditative practice, I just started practicing that and practicing that. And over time, I started to feel like a bulging energy, like throbbing energy whenever I meditate. Then it started to become even more intense. It started happening when I'm driving, when I'm eating, when I'm talking to people. And I didn't know what this phenomenon is. And it actually was quite worrying at the time because it was getting more intense. And as I do, as being the intellect at the time, I Googled. And after days of Googling, I finally came across something, other people describing very similar symptoms. And they call it Kundalini awakening or spiritual awakening. And back then, I've never heard of the word Kundalini. I've never heard of the word awakening together. And so what is this? I knew that Guru Singh was someone that had the answer. That's an inner knowing. And so I got him to come on my podcast to learn more from him. And he so kindly agreed. And before the podcast, I thought I better read the book that is called Buried Treasure. It's been sitting on my bookshelf for like a few years now. And I never got around to reading it for whatever reason. And when I got to read the book, I just found that's profound wisdom within what this man have to share. And when you get to know him, and as well as there's a podcast that you could listen to, you see that this man is beyond wise. He's getting access to super conscious, to higher consciousness, and he's teaching all of us on how to access this ourselves, how to be more in line with our spirit and our soul. So without further ado, thank you for being here. Namaste, Guru Singh. We're going to continue the session just a few minutes after it began.
Reduce its dominance so that it'll allow some other ideas in. Everyone has heard about tension, pressure, stress, and friction. As a matter of fact, we all talk about, I'm stressed out, I'm getting so much pressure from this, or I feel tension and all of that. So I thought we would address that because these are the essential qualities of the material universe. Tension, pressure, stress, and friction allow for everything to be held together. Without tension, pressure, stress, and friction, water would be clear dust. It is the tension, pressure, stress, and friction that allows water, which is clear dust, to become a liquid. The beauty of liquid is that it is flexible. Your body is 70 to 75% water, 70 to 75% liquid. And so we use that opportunity inside the body to create that flexibility. As Tony and I have always talked about, physical flexibility leads to emotional flexibility, leads to mental flexibility, leads to living flexibility. Tension, pressure, stress, and friction are what make up the material world, the world of your body, the world of this earth, the world of your environment, the world of your life. But you add to that ease, joy, knowing, and liberation, or freedom. These are the qualities of life. Physicality, the base of everything physical is ease. The base of everything emotional is joy. The base of everything mental is knowing. Let me give you an example of knowing. There are these new computers out that really have nothing inside of them except the ability to access the internet. All of the information is contained within the internet, and the little computer just goes out to that and finds the information that it wants. This is the nature of the human biocomputer with all of its neurology. You have access to everything. You have access, no, I'm not talking about the internet now, I'm talking about the internal net. That internal net is that you can access everything, and the first thing that you have to realize is that you have access to everything, is to believe that you have access to everything. Answers to problems, solutions, everything is there available to you. Part of the physics of infinity is, according to Isaac Newton, for every action, there is a reaction that is equal. So for every question, there must be an answer. For every problem, there must be a solution. What if you were to give that to yourself every moment, so that every time you had a challenge, whether it was a challenging person, you realized, if I just go into this moment, I will be able to not only access the irritation of this problem, or the irritation of this person or this situation, but I will also be able to access the solution. The physics of infinity is everything is everywhere, always. This is the reality of faith. This is the reality of a belief system. And so when life comes together in matter, you have ease, joy, knowing, and liberation coming together with tension, pressure, stress, and friction. And if you learn to balance your life, the tension is equally distributed, you don't feel it. The pressure is equally distributed, you don't feel it. The stress is, and the friction is also. So we look at this and we say, wow, here I am, able to distribute all of this. How can I live my life in this world? And that's why we say understanding space is the job of the head brain. So think about this. A universe. This is very similar to the depictions of the universe. It's a conical shape. Science is beginning to understand this. They're starting to discover, billions and billions of more space and billions of more stars and galaxies, etc. But what they're not willing to understand is that the megaverse and multiverse go beyond one universe. But when you start to allow yourself in a meditative state, in a contemplative state, to realize that there's a universal sun that gives birth to a universe, which is part of a central sun that gives birth to a megaverse, which is part of a megaversal process that gives birth to a multiverse, and that this goes on and on and on, and suddenly you realize, wow, my situation is not that big. My situation could call upon all of this, and I could find peace, I could find solution, I could find love, I could find fulfillment. And these are the qualities that this head brain needs to stop thinking of. These problems are so big. When my problems are really big, I just bring them into the reality of how big really is. And then all of a sudden I start to recognize, wow, I am who I am. That is that. Seal, the pop singer, and I sang a song together. We recorded a song together. and I want you to just sit as the first step in our journey today. And we're going to go through an affirmation. And this affirmation is all about allowing ourselves to feel the right that we have to be ourselves, to be whatever we want to be. That's part of the life and the world of infinity. So everyone, I am who I am, that is that. Exactly who I am, that's a fact. I am who I am, that is that. Exactly who I am, that's a fact. Close your eyes now. I am who I am, that is that. Exactly who I am, that's a fact. I am who I am, that is that. Exactly who I am, that's a fact. I am who I am, that is that. Exactly who I am, that's a fact. I am who I am, that is that. Exactly who I am, that is that. I am, I am, I am, I am. I am, I am, I am, I am, I am, I am. I am, I am, I am who I am, that is that. Exactly who I am, that's a fact. And eventually, you start to feel childlike. Before you learn to be intimidated, inhibited, you start to become fearless, less doubtful, because you're giving yourself the authority, the right to be exactly who you are. And then all your efforts to have wealth and health and love are a byproduct. They're actually a byproduct. They're not the goal. The goal is just to be you. Because there is no other you. There's never been a you like you. And there will never again be another you exactly like you are in this life. So the more that you can be exactly you, the more your friends are going to say, hey man, can you just tone it down? And you can say, I don't think so. But I'll be gentle with you. If you say to your friends, I'll be gentle with you because I'm still working on it. So just a couple more times, let's sing this now. I am who I am, that is that. Exactly who I am, that's a fact. I am who I am, that is that. Exactly who I am, that's a fact. Keep your eyes closed for a moment now. Think of yourself as this tiny little physical speck, but this infinite consciousness, this infinite awareness, and this infinite awareness, just like the Wi-Fi inside your computer has access to everything. Just think of that for a moment. The microcosm has access to the macrocosm. Feel it. Feel how tiny the physical world is. Even the world itself, even the earth itself, is very small. Very, very small. And now we move to the gut brain from the head brain. And just place your hands over the belly button. One hand over it, the other over the hand. And begin, as you inhale, pushing the belly out. And as you exhale, draw the belly in. Pushing it out, drawing it in. If you ever become anxious, if you ever become mentally uncertain, do this exercise. If you ever want to look more deeply into a situation, into a relation, do this exercise. Pushing the belly out as you inhale, drawing the belly in as you exhale. Feeling it with your hands, breathing through your nose. The sound of the belly is ma. Just relax your hands, relax your breathing, and open your eyes. As I said before, the head brain is very much two-dimensional. It's analytical. It measures things. It analyzes right, left, good, bad, yes, no. The problem in the world today is that we're running the entire world on the head brain alone. But it is the gut brain. Medical science is discovering so much about the gut brain. As a matter of fact, there's a great book called M, as in Ma, M-braining, which means multi-braining. This brain in your gut is about connection and nourishment. In our course, we teach how to orchestrate all three brains. Not only just the brains in our body, but also how to orchestrate that in relation to the subtler energies that are around us. This particular part of our neurology centers around what in Chinese medicine is called the dantian. If you take your belly button and your tailbone and you draw a diagonal, halfway down that diagonal is that point called the dantian. Martial artists know all about this. Traditional Chinese doctors know all about this. This point is literally your physical center point. It is what allows you to be balanced, not only physically, but it's what allows you to be balanced emotionally. Because your emotions are produced by the peptides, the hormones, the lipids, and the proteins that are created by every physical cell in your body. Every move you make secretes microscopic doses of these things. And so if you're moving in a particular way, it's going to make you feel a particular way, because the emotions are the combinations of all of this chemistry known as your blood chemistry. That not only gives you emotions, but it affects how you think. It affects how you think about what you're striving to achieve. It affects how you think and feel about the people that you work with, the people that you live with, the people that you give birth to. All of this. This is a key to understanding how to really get your life in order. If you don't know the recipe, you may not be able to bake the cake. But if you know the recipe of life, you can bake the cake of success. Success in life. And when you combine the brain in your head, the neurology in your head, with the neurology in your gut, what you end up doing is you end up connecting to that which you are analyzing. And when you connect, just like the gut brain is all about digesting the food, when you connect with that which you are analyzing, you gain the nutrition. This is what gives you the satisfaction in relationship. This is what gives you the satisfaction in achievement. All of us want to achieve so much. Gary was telling us about 500 million people. 500 million people is a big number, but it's not a big number. When you compare it to other numbers, it's not a big number. And so when you can reduce what appears to be something very big down to a workable size, that's when you have the opportunity to achieve success and also to achieve fulfillment in that success. What happens with that gut brain is that you use it not only digesting food, but you also use it to digest thoughts. You also use it to digest feelings. You also use it to digest relationships. You also use it to digest every single thing that you're trying to achieve in life. So if you give yourself the opportunity to enhance the gut brain, not only enhance it through your physiology, but enhance it through your awareness, now you're using your tool in a more dynamic way. And these are the things that we teach in these deeper courses, but I'm going to talk to you about something right now that you probably already know a little bit about, perhaps you know more about than a little, and that is, how do we create brain framing so that we can drop into those sweet spots, which is alpha and theta. Delta is complete asleep. Theta is dream time, which is also deep meditation. And alpha is extremely relaxed. And this is what the brain patterns look like in a graphic depiction. I mean, this is not a scientific drawing. This is a graphic depiction of a scientific drawing. When you see these jagged lines, that means that your brain is turning on and turning off. When you see these open lines, it means that your brain is waving through the turn on and turn off. And when the brain waves through the turn on and turn off, it opens up, like in a camera, the older cameras that had actual physical parts. It was called the aperture. And the more you could open the aperture, the more information would come into that camera's lens. This is what we want to do in life. We want to be in every situation. As I was saying before, when you have a problem, you need a solution. When you have a question, you need an answer. And it's that the two-dimensional brain is always searching for those answers and solutions that cause the two-dimensional brain to become unsteady, too accelerated, too nervous, too much, no peace, no calm. But when you can use particular methodologies to engage not just the head brain, which is very, very brilliant, but also engage the gut brain, which is very, very connecting. Now you can connect to your brilliance. And when your brilliance feels connected, it doesn't feel frustrated. It feels like it's intentional. It feels like it's on purpose. It feels like it has the ability to achieve what it knows. This is opening up. And by the way, when I said theta was dream time, but it's also deep meditation. So what I want to encourage you to do, whatever time of day it is where you are, before you go to bed this day, set your dream time. Literally say to yourself, I'm going to assign my dreams to answer some things, to answer some questions, to provide some solutions, to create some opportunities, because this is the part of your brain that most people just don't pay attention to. They just go to sleep to go to sleep. Sleep is a very important event. It is the delta state of sleep that gives you the rejuvenation of your physical body, because that's the time when nothing else is happening. But it is the theta sleep, the dream time sleep, that gives you the opportunity to literally work on everything that you're doing without the slightest bit of intellectual interference, without the slightest bit of doubtful interference, without the slightest bit of fearful interference, without the slightest bit of interference at all. This is how you can work in the dream time. Then you can learn through technologies, through techniques, to put yourself into the dream time while you're still awake. Don't do it while you're driving. Don't do it while you're doing things that are really technical, because you'll really mess things up. It's not that kind of a miracle worker. But what you want to be able to do is, you're in a safe space, you're in a calm space, in a place. Then what you want to be able to do is you want to be able to give yourself that opportunity. What the gut brain does in Sanskrit, it's called Vastu. Vastu Shastra. It gives you a sense of your place in space. The head brain gives you a sense of space, and that's why I was describing what space is like, how big it is, how science and astronomy and astrophysics hasn't even begun to explore how big space is. What we are doing here is that we're finding with the gut brain, what is our place inside that massive space? That is what gives you the authority. That which gives you the freedom. That's what gives you the right to be you. It's called permission. A permit for your mission. That is so powerful, because when all of a sudden, and I know most of you have this, I'm just trying to explain to you how you got it and how you can keep it and how you can make it even more powerful. To have that permit for your mission, whatever, regardless of what your mission might be at this time, when you look at how big is, you realize my mission is only a part of my bigger mission. It was like what Gary was saying in the introduction. You know, he had a mission of wealth and health and sharing and all in caring and all of these things. And then he realized that in order to truly achieve all of that, he needed to have that peace and calm, that inner space. That is knowing your place in space. And that's what comes from having the brain open up into that, and it's what allows you to have that theta state. I just want to give you a little example here of what, not only what we cover in deep in the yogic part, and then I'm going to have you do a brief exercise, physical exercise, of how the body works in that gut brain. So this sort of curved line here, this is your pelvic bowl. Most of it, unless you're standing, most of you are sitting in the pelvic bowl. If you're standing, your two legs go up into that pelvic bowl. It's like that temple in the Asian temples, the two pillars and that beautiful curved piece that goes across the top. And that's actually what it is depicting. Your left leg and your right leg and your pelvis all connect together through the hip joints. Inside your thighs is what is called the femur. It's the largest single bone in your body except for the pelvis itself. So you have the two femurs and the pelvis, these three large bones that are filled with bone marrow. Bone marrow's job, in addition to other things, circulation, etc., nerves, etc., is to produce blood cells. The bone marrow in these areas of your body produce 2 million blood cells per beat of the heart. Every one of those blood cells is recorded by the beat of your heart. It's like a magnetic hard drive or magnetic tape. It's an electromagnetic event that with the beat of your heart and what you're feeling in your heart is recorded on every blood cell, 2 million per beat of the heart being produced with the recording of how you feel and what your mission is in that moment. The left thigh is your intention. The right thigh is your motivation. The pelvis is your purpose. Purpose, intention, motivation go together. It's called the lower triad. And this pelvis and the two thighs begin to circulate. And as that energy begins to circulate, all of a sudden now you can enhance. What do you intend to do? How are you motivated? And how does that connect to your purpose? What do you intend to do? How are you motivated? And how does that connect to your purpose? And when you begin to get this cycle going on, what begins to happen, what the electromagnetics that come up off of the pelvis are called notions, N-O-T-I-O-N-S, very faint ideas. And those faint ideas begin to rise up through your belly, through the abdomen. And it's picked up by the diaphragm, which is the largest muscle in your body. And it's what allows you to breathe. It's what allows you to breathe when you're not awake, because that diaphragm is programmed to breathe whether you're awake or asleep. We get deeper into that relationship because it has a lot to do with the subconscious. It has a lot to do with the superconscious. But I'm going to limit it right here, right now, so that we can get through this. But with these notions coming up, your diaphragm begins to pick them up. And the breathing, the peptides, hormones, lipids, and proteins that are engaged in the breathing apparatus of your diaphragm and your lungs and your ribs is the emotion of believing. This is yogic science. It's going to become medical science at a certain point because they're discovering more and more and more in medical science. As a matter of fact, my wife and I have been involved in many studies inside MRI tubes in which they're analyzing what is happening inside our body and inside our brain after and before we do certain exercises and certain meditations. And so they're working diligently to literally be able to analyze exactly what yogis have known for thousands of years. Because just to go on blind faith is not important. But to go on a belief system that's being proven, that's very important. So just briefly, this circulation down here, called the lower triad, gives rise to notions which are faint ideas picked up by your diaphragm in your breathing, and all of a sudden now you're starting to believe in your ideas. And as Tony talks to us all the time, I love the way he emphasizes this. It's all about your belief system. He often called it your BS system, right? What is your belief system connected to? When you know that your belief system is faltering, that all you have to do is get up and stand in a certain way and do some movements, and all of a sudden you can get that back into position, get that back into focus. You don't have to wait around, because it'll come back into focus eventually. But if you can move it into focus, you save all that time. So what I'm going to ask you to do just for this moment, just to engage that gut brain, is come standing up. And if you're not able to stand up, then it's okay to do this in a chair. And what you'll do in a chair and what we do standing up will be very similar. And so what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to put your hands on your knees like this, and bend your legs like this. And if you're in a chair and you can't stand up, don't worry, because we're here to improve, not to prove. So take hold of your knees like this and just start going like this. Now, if you're in a chair, what I want you to do, instead of rising up and down, I want you to just lean back and forth, side to side. So now, just come like this, coming like this. And now exhale as you go down through your lips. Inhale coming up through your nose. One more minute. You're stimulating the building of blood cells in those thighs. Pace yourself. Don't do it beyond your ability. Pace yourself. Last few seconds. Inhale, and then just lean over. Don't stay standing straight up. Just lean over. And now slowly, very, very slowly, come up and come sitting back down. And now close your eyes and become mindful. Feel your thighs from the inside. Feel your hips from the inside. Feel your pelvis from the inside. Be mindful of your belly from the inside. Be aware of your diaphragm as you're breathing from the inside. You can assign these feelings to achieve Or you can assign these feelings to increase your health. You can assign these feelings to improve your understanding of those in relations. These are the feelings of connection and the nourishment of connection. These are the feelings of the gut brain. And they correspond to the activities of your head brain. Together they are partners. And there's a third element in this partnership. It's a triangle, which is the strongest form in geometry. And that triangle has an opportunity in our lives to create that geometric strength. So very, very gently open your eyes. And we're going to take a journey of the heart for a moment. And as we know, the heart, as the expression goes, is at the heart of the matter. The heart is this incredible instrument. It's the first organ that is created in the womb, in the little tiny embryo. The very first organ that's created is the heart. Almost microscopic at that state. And it is the last organ to function in life. You can keep people alive that are brain dead, but you can't keep a person alive that is heart dead. The heart is the most natural function. And if you think about economics, the economics of the heart would be very valuable to actually be produced on the outside of our bodies, the inner world becoming the outer world, for the economics that we work with outside, because all of you, because of your association with yourself and ultimately your association with Tony and all of the other plats, you're givers. You love to serve people. This is the nature of the heart. The heart center is made up of the heart and the lungs. And both the heart and the lungs have a quality that they have to give great effort to serve. And they have to completely surrender to receive. So the heart and the neurology in the heart, the brain in the heart, is all about effort to give, surrender to receive. Both the lungs and the heart have to put forth great effort. The lungs to exhale and the heart to pump the blood into the body. But they also have to surrender in order to receive the blood back for the heart and in order for the inhale to take place. The lungs are naturally inflated. The heart is naturally full. Now in life, in the economics of life, people believe that if I just do more, I can get more. And then when I get more, I can give more. But what if you transform that attitude? That if I just served more and then surrendered, I would receive more. And you wouldn't want to do it all at once, because the inner workings of the subconscious would react and correct. It would correct what you're trying to do because it would think that you're doing something wrong. And so you always want to have a slow growth curve when you're transforming your life from one that is a little more chaotic to one that is a little more calm. You want to have a slow growth curve. Otherwise, the reactions, the inner reactions of the subconscious will think that you're doing it wrong and they'll try to correct you. The heart is a giver. It's a continuous giver. And then it relaxes to receive. High blood pressure, also called hypertension, is caused by the lack of surrender. That the heart is continuously pumping, but it's not quite relaxing enough to receive everything back. And so it leaves pressure in the system. It's a hydraulic system, like a hydraulic lift. And that system has to have balance. There has to be an equality between the giving and the receiving. And so the act of getting and striving to get is actually counterintuitive. What you want to do is place your energy into how can this serve whatever it is that you're doing. How can this serve more? And then you have to relax in the awareness that the flood of return is going to come regardless. And as I said before, make the transformation slowly. And what we're really talking about is we're talking about the heart having the equation between gravity and levity is actually going to make up that third component of the triangle. And the heart is a rhythm setter. And the rhythm of time is that incredible sequence of the past, the present, and the future. When you get all three brains functioning, now all of a sudden you begin to see more of each moment, like I showed you in that depiction of how the brains of all three portions function. You open the aperture. When you open the aperture, you see more of the details and the data of every moment. You don't just see the danger points, because the sympathetic nervous system is going to want you to see just the data points that are dangerous. Because if you can keep those problems in your view, then they won't disrupt you. But as Sir Isaac Newton said, for every action there is an equal reaction. So for all of those problems there has to be a solution. But your system won't see that solution, won't recognize, meaning again, and cognize, to know it again. Your system won't recognize the solutions because the aperture of your lens hasn't opened enough, because you're focused through the sympathetic. And what happens is that you do exercises like what we just did, or the affirmation that we started this course with, the I am who I am, that is that. I mean, you keep singing that and it's like a child, you know, I'm good, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that. You begin to believe it because you're working with the belief system, you're working with the analytical system, and you're working with the collective connection. Belief system from the heart and lungs, analysis from the head, and connection from the gut. And all of a sudden, that I am who I am, that is that, exactly who I am, that's a fact, becomes not just an intellectual statement. It becomes nourishment. It becomes circulation. It becomes all of these components. When they combine, you move from the fight or flight, sympathetic nervous system, into let's see what this means, parasympathetic nervous system. And there is a mantra that I want to share with you that is very much a part of this and that mantra is Om Ong Brahm Hum Namo. And you heard Gary say Namaste, Guru Singh. Namo and Namaste mean the same thing. It means I bow. Om is the physics of infinity, as I said before. And infinity is nothing because you can't have infinite something. The something happens at the portal, the creative portal of infinity. This is why I gave you that first drawing of the universe, the megaverse, the multiverse at the beginning. Because this is the way the whole thing comes together. Om is that infinite nothing. Ong is the portal that creates the tension, pressure, stress, and friction to create something. Nothing collapsed into something, like a massive black hole, colliding all this nothing into a condensation. Just like steam is like a bit of nothing, but if you condense it in a cloud, by cooling it, it becomes water that rains down on the earth. The same thing in creation. Brahm is that creative force that takes the things that are being produced into matter and then produces what is our physical reality. That is Hum. So this is basically saying that from nothing comes something that I use creatively to produce what I want, and to that I bow. Mantras are what are called indicative language. Like, ow, that's an indication, and it's the same in every language. Another thing that's the same in every language is ah, whoa. These are expressions. These are indicative expressions. Mantras are indicative expressions that are not so much about what they mean, which I just told you, but they're more about what they do. Mantras are made up of vowels and consonants. Vowels create sound. Consonants direct the sound. Consonants don't make sound at all. They have to use a vowel in order to have a sound, like G uses E, K uses A, P uses E, Q uses U. So you always have to have a vowel to make a sound. And what happens in mantras is that you combine vowels and consonants into syllables. And those syllables begin to direct the sound inside of your system to create these incredibly subtle indications as to what is it that you're trying to achieve? What is it that you want? What is it that you mean? What is it that you are? And that is the way in which mantra reconciles the mystery into mastery. And this is a beautiful idea. We'll do this mantra for just a couple of minutes, just to give you a sense. And we've done this a lot on the spiritual journeys with Tony and Sage. And Om, Om, What I want you to do is just vibrate your voice. Don't care about what it sounds like. Just dig down underneath and vibrate. And let's vibrate all three brain centers in our body. Our gut, our heart, and our head. Om, Om, Brahman, Namo. Om, Brahman, Namo. Om, Brahman, Namo. Three more times. Om, Brahman, Namo. Brahman, Namo. Sit in the midst of that breathing, pushing your belly out as you inhale, and pushing it in, drawing it in as you exhale. Let that inhale and exhale feel so complete. Allow your body to experience the sensations that are connected with each inhale and each exhale. We have been talking about understanding space in the head brain, recognizing our place in that space with the gut brain, and understanding the time of our space through the cycles and the pulsations of giving and receiving in the heart brain. And it is the combination of all of these components which is known as the Kundalini awakening. That Kundalini awakening is the cycling of the head brain, the gut brain, and the heart brain, And what it does is it creates a gyroscopic effect. And that gyroscopic effect gathers you physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually into a state of balance, which is the purpose of a gyroscope. Is all of these orbiting events. They use them in airplanes, they use them in major ships. Gyroscopes create balance by creating polarities that are always in opposition to each other, which creates the balance like the many stakes that hold up a center pole in a big tent. And this is what happens when you begin to understand how to use your whole physical body, how to use your whole emotional body, how to use all of your mental body to be able to connect to your spiritual body, that soul body, and allow it to be able to be consistent in each moment so that you drive more readily, you love more easily, you have health more actually, and you increase wealth in order to share it. And so we'll do another exercise for the purpose of just experiencing the sensation of this balance. So if you would come standing, and if you cannot stand, then just imagine standing. Imagine standing. And do it proprioceptively. Put your arms out to the sides, bending your elbows so that it feels like you have two pontoons. Keep your eyes open and just fix your eyes on, maybe you fix your eyes on your screen, or maybe you just fix your eyes on a place on the wall. And you come into what is called a standing Shiva, which means that you don't attach this foot to anything. You just bring it up off the ground and sort of cross it. And then as you're staring forward, you're standing on this one foot. And try not to be wobbling to balance, but feel yourself attached to infinity out of the top of your head. Focus more on the silver thread, which is what it's called, that connects you to the center of the universe. Like you're a puppet. You're a universal puppet. And you are connected there. And what we're doing here is we're activating our gyroscopic balance. The balance of the gut brain, the balance of the cycling heart brain, and the balance of the Kundalini rising and falling, rising up through the central spine, coming back down through the vagus nerve of the parasympathetic system that I was explaining earlier. And then what happens is, because all of the little chatter in your head brain no longer is the dominant force. All of a sudden you've got all these other things happening which include the head brain. But don't make the head brain dominate your life. And now, just for the sake of balance, two sides, put that foot down and come up on the other. And we'll just do this for another few seconds, just to feel it on both sides. Because balance is essential if you want to be successful. I mean, you can make all the money in the world, and this has been a quote in many books throughout history, and you're still not a success. Because creating great wealth is wonderful, it's very useful. But if it's a sacrifice of your health or a sacrifice of your mental well-being, then it's not as good. So put both feet back down and just stand now on two legs, which is also quite a phenomenon, because Nothing in the world stands on two legs except the human. And feel the balance, the right and left sides of your body. Feel the balance between that gut brain, that heart brain, and that head brain. Feel your breath breathing through all of those systems. Push the belly out. You must practice this because this is actually the correct way of breathing. It brings more breath into the lower 1/3 of your lungs, which have far more capacities for osmosis and oxygenation than the upper part of your lungs. So feel your breathing, experience your balancing, imagine these cycles, and all of a sudden, it's not all about what you're thinking. It's more about what you're being. The sensation of being whole is what the expression of being holy means. All a holy man was, or a holy woman was, is a person who was experiencing the holism of life. What this process, what this course teaches, what this technology enables is for you to be far better at what you do because of how you are. Your being produces your doing. And just come sitting down and very gently. And we'll have just a brief review. The graphic that I like to use is the sounds. The sound of ma is literally the sound that every child makes very early on. That's why a ma is called a ma, mom. And it's the sound of the gut brain. That And I said that the consonant directs the sound and the vowel makes the sound. When you close off your mouth and an M in great ma, that closing of the mouth drives the sound down the esophagus. Instead of out through the mouth, it goes down the esophagus and it comforts the belly. And that's why little children will go ma, ma when they're hungry and they want to comfort the belly, and that's why mom is called mom. Sa is the sound of the heart brain, which is the lungs and the heart. Sa is the sound of breathing. That's, you add an ah or an a to it, and you can do some sound. The sound of the head brain is the sound of exclamation, ya or wah, or even wow. That exclamation, which is the effervescence of the head brain. Ma, sa, ya. In the ancient languages, these were the words that were symbolic of these particular neurological centers. And it's the root of the word Masaya, or as it's pronounced sometimes, Messiah. All the word Messiah meant was one who is engaging all three brains. We have connection at the gut, circulation at the heart, analysis at the head. Imagine your life if you had balance between these three. That would be the Masaya in you, because everyone in the physics of infinity, everyone has that mastery within. And with that, I will open it up for any questions that you might have. This is like a brief thumbnail sketch of an infinite course, so you're really talking about, like the essence of the essence of the essence, right? And we do deep dives in everything that we go into. And we do a 200-hour deep dive, and that's one of the reasons we brought you here, but we also just got together to have a good time. So, Gary, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Guru Singh. So just so that people know that if they want to, before we keep the question time, if they want to go deeper in the journey, what can they expect from the Kundalini course that you've got, like 200 hours? I think there's some live course, there's some like pre-recorded videos.
Yeah, we have over 600 pages of manual. We have over 200 videos. We have meditations. We have yogic practice. We have intellectual practice. We have so many different things. We have every week, and you study on your own, but every week, twice a week, we have 2 2-hour sessions at different times so that we can broadcast around the world live sessions with me in which you have an extended hour and more than that to ask any questions about the material. And the way that we have built this course is that we have built it with about 10 years of experience in my partnership here in teaching online courses. And so it's very much attuned to online learning and very much attuned to people's own personal schedules. Everything is evergreen. You maintain your relation with the materials for as long as you want to, and you can review and view as often as you want to. And so once you're in forever as long as you want to stay in.
And what's the expected outcome for someone that's completing the course?
There are several outcomes. One of them is that you begin to really understand the relationship between your body, your body, physical body, your emotional body, your mental body, and your spiritual bodies, so that you can live as a full being rather than just as a thinking or doing being. And also you expand your intuition. People say it's transformative. I've been doing this for so many decades that, it's hard for me to just isolate each way in which it affects you. But you learn how to become intuitive, whether it's clairvoyant with vision, clairaudient with sound, or clairsentient with feelings. You learn how to get that started, how to get, if I can use the expression, how to get those muscles operating, because everyone has those muscles. It's just that not everyone uses them. And so you learn how to deal with time, past, present, and future, which are all intermingled so that you can understand where it comes from, what it's in this moment, and where it's going to. That's called being psychic or being intuitive. And you also learn a lot about how to meditate and how to improve your health through exercise.
Great, that's awesome. So guys, I'm just gonna share a link that has the discount already applied, 10% off for Plats. So anyone that's got questions, so feel free to write them down or unmute yourself.
Yeah, we're open to discussion now.
Yeah. The one that goes first usually is the most special.
Well, I will just say, I just want to say thank you so much for organizing this, Gary, and thank you so much, Guru Singh, for passing this wisdom along to us. I can't wait to start the program. I'm definitely going to dive in, and I just want to say thank you so much on behalf of everybody here. Thanks. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Bless you.
Well, I have a question, Guru Singh.
Yay.
Um, so you mentioned that something that captured my attention was that you said that when you want to transform, you want to transform slowly, have a slow curve, right?
Yeah.
And so my question is, how do you know it's slow? How do you know you're going at the right pace, right? Sometimes you feel when you're in this, starting to meditate, that nothing is happening
Right.
and you get frustrated. Sometimes you feel a lot, right? So you get excited and then the next day nothing happens.
Yeah.
And so how do you know you are in the right track, and how do you know that anyway, even though you're progressing and not getting stuck?
Well, it's a bit like sailing on the ocean. If you've ever been sailing, you know that there's strong winds and weak winds, and then there's dead calms, and all of those have value on Earth, but you have to learn how to navigate them. And so there are certain sails that you put up when the wind is behind you, and there's other sails when the wind is at you, so that you can tack against it. And there's ways in which you can gain maximum ability if things are not going well, or calm it down if things are moving too fast. And one of the things that we learn is how to know that and how to respond to the signals, because sometimes the signals aren't obvious until they're on top of you. And you want to have like a satellite vision of how the weather is arriving at you, so that you can be prepared for the way in which it is. Most of what happens to us in life is either, overwhelming or boring in a methodical way, simply because we haven't anticipated and we haven't prepared for the circumstances that were going to prevail. And what we want to do is, like the Buddha said, learn how to work with boredom, and also learn how to work with the overwhelming energies of whatever it is, nervousness, anxiety, any of these things. Learn how to work with them, because they're all just frequencies in the universe. And so what we do is we work with each individual. We break the larger group down into smaller groups. We work with each individual so that you can know your pace, and you can begin to become comfortable with your pace, and also you can begin to open up your vision so that you can see ahead of time and know how to prepare for the moment.
Awesome, thank you. Guru Singh, someone's got a question on, Yuki. Yuki says, any tips on becoming a better receiver?
As I was indicating when I was talking about the lungs, the lungs are known as the belief system. What you breathe in, you believe in. Now imagine this, the way etymology built words. So I'm going to be speaking in English, but you can translate this into almost nearly every language. There's a word called deserve. And then there's a word called serve. They are actually opposites, even though we have miscalculated the word deserve. We think it means value. Actually, it means the repercussion of our service. And so we are able to receive what we allow in. The lungs are able to breathe what they allow in. The heart is able to receive back what it allows in. And the way to do that is through relaxing in receiving, then placing effort to serve the world through whatever your ambition is. Then you relax to receive, and it's a circulation. So many people think that they have to be something in order to receive something. You don't. You just have to believe that you'll receive. And it's something that practice makes you better at playing an instrument makes you better at playing this instrument of being a human. And so being able to disserve is the ability to receive, because you sieve or serve, and then you receive or disserve. And that is a play on words, but it is also the way in which the physics of life work.
Thank you. Anyone wants to go next?
Oh, there are questions out there. Just unmute yourself and ask it.
Here, I'll ask. Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Danica.
Hello. So I'm just more interested in learning about the dream, like, before we go to sleep, and we can talk to ourselves before going into a dream to get messages. If you can maybe touch a little bit on that.
Yeah. The brain is this massive neurology, all three brains together. And as you're going to sleep, what you'll want to be doing is you'll want to be able to give yourself assignments as if it's a team. And it has to be a team that's driven by love. So it can't be a team that's driven by demands and expectations, but it's a team that is gathered by love, right? So you feel as you're laying there going into your sleep, cause it to become a meditation. Feel that gut brain, feel that heart brain, feel that head brain, feel all of these incredible centers, which are still going to be functioning while you are unconscious. And give them a loving assignment. Write it down. If you want to learn something, you read about it. If you want to know something, you write about it. And if you want to master something, you share it or teach it. And so write it down. And then the moment you wake up, before you get involved in anything, before you engage anything, is just you want to, and if you have to, go and relieve yourself, then you do that, but you do it in a very sleepy kind of way. Try to maintain that theta state of your system so that it's very open, and begin to write down the answers, because they're there. Any place there's a question, there's an answer. Any place there's a problem, there's a solution. Every place there's a desire, there is a way of achieving that desire. And these are the kind of things that we train in all of our trainings, of how to live in that meditative state. So that, because the meditative state is the same as the dream state, what we've all been accustomed to is that the dream state is unconscious because you're asleep. But lucid dreaming is a very powerful way of dreaming. Einstein was a lucid dreamer. Thomas Edison was a lucid dreamer. Dr. Bose was a lucid dreamer, the inventor of so many things in India. Tesla was a lucid dreamer. Becoming a person who knows how to meditate deeply in a lucid dream state is a phenomenon. You can solve so many things in your life. You can achieve so much more by the efficiencies that you create through solution.
Thank you so much.
Good question. Good question.
Thank you, Guru Singh. That's another question from Ursula. I'll put on my female voice. How can I believe my intuition?
Beautiful. That's a question a lot of people have. The way you can believe your intuition is to believe your intuition and be wrong. And then believe your intuition and be wrong. And then keep doing it and keep doing it. It's like, how can I play the guitar? Well, first I have to play it terribly. And then I have to play it horribly. And then I have to play it not so good. And eventually, after I practice and practice and practice and practice, I get to where I'm kind of okay. And the same thing is with intuition. You practice all of the ways in which we meditate to strengthen the intuition, because the same way with the guitar, you have to train your ears, you have to train your fingers, you have to train so many different things. You have to know how to tune it. But the same way with intuition, there's exercises that you can do to create more clairvoyance, more clairaudience, more clairsentience. And then you will play it poorly. Then you have to try it again, and you have to keep practicing and keep practicing. And what you really want to be good at is don't try to achieve the big things intuitively, because the big and important things intuitively could have perhaps disastrous results. But if you start on the little things, like, start on maybe a simple tune on your instrument, and then you can begin, after you find that you're successful with those smaller intuitive tasks, then you can begin to assign your intuition to larger tasks and more important tasks and more valuable tasks. And all of a sudden, you will reach a point where you have this tidal wave of sensation, that it starts to carry you rather than you working to carry it. And that's when all of a sudden you realize, wow, the universal mind knows everything, just like the internet knows everything. If I have my Wi-Fi connected, I can gain access to that everything. And that's the same way with the internal wiring of the intuition. Good question.
Guru Singh, I've got a question. I've often looked at you as like a walking encyclopedia, or like an Akashic records. How much of the stuff that you are telling us is from you reading from somewhere? Like, you talk about the different bones or different anatomy of the body. You're talking about the origins of different English word or different Sanskrit words. It's like you got answers to everything, and I just got tackled. But how much of it you learn from somewhere, or how much is it you just know, and you just somehow tap into the higher consciousness and pull those answers?
Yeah, I couldn't give you a ratio because it's hard to understand, but it's very much like you are a biocomputer. And there are certain things that you contain on your hard drive. There's certain things you want to store in your own personal cloud formation. And there are other things that you just have to gather from the infinite, right? Or the internet. And so when I am being asked a question that I have not necessarily researched, oftentimes I will find, and this was intuitive. This was me practicing intuition. Believe me, I got it wrong a lot. I'm 75 years old, but over the decades, I've been doing this for so long, since birth actually, but over the decades, I've had to practice it, being able to recuperate after not getting it right, et cetera, et cetera. And you learn to do that. You learn to navigate that. But eventually, you are in a state of knowing. And that knowing isn't necessarily knowing what you know, but it is knowing that you know. And by knowing that you know, that creates the connection to what you need to know. And that's how the information can flow through. And I have tested it and tested it and tested it, and ultimately you find that it is right to such a great degree of the time that you begin to really rely upon it.
Thank you.
Guru Singh, this is Peter from St. Louis. First, Gary, thank you so much for putting this together. Your daughter is incredibly cute, by the way. Thank you for her presence. But I have a question for you, Guru Singh, about, well, actually I have two questions. One, do you have any recommendations on nourishment, food? Like, what type of foods do you recommend that will bless our body in the ways that you're mentioning here, so that we can have better Kundalini energy? That's my first question.
Well, by the way, I love the tree on your T-shirt. I believe it's a tree. I live by a standard that there is a cycle on the earth, and that except for predatory animals, the human animal is by design, whether it's the teeth that we have or the digestive system that we have, that a plant-based diet is the most valuable diet. Now, having said that, we have thousands of years of meat-based consumption because of the ice ages. The ice ages came down and destroyed a lot of human beings' territories, and there was nothing to eat except the animals that could eat what was still available. And so that actually is what created the omnivore and the carnivore out of the human being. And so, again, as I said to a previous question, you need to, if you're going to shift from a carnivorous diet or an omnivorous diet to a vegetarian or a plant-based vegan diet, your body isn't ready if you have generations, because the generations are what create our bodies, our ancestry, parents, grandparents, etc. And there's a huge amount of investment in the way our body processes food. So if you were to go cold quickly from one extreme to another, your body hasn't been able to catch up, and it would be starting to become depleted. And so you want to give yourself, I don't talk about small plans, I talk about, give yourself, if you want to be eating the best diet for the highest consciousness, give yourself 2 to 3 to 5 years to clarify your system. Go through, like, Tony, I was just teaching in his Life Mastery course the other day, and these people were going on a cleanse during that, and it was a cleanse that had many, many ways in which you could feed yourself during the cleanse. And because we all believe in a slow curve, so give yourself the ability to transform your body over time. That's my answer to your question. I'm a plant-based person, and that means that I'm, in the vernacular, I'm vegan, but I didn't, establish that instantaneously. I was a majority of it since birth, but I knew certain parts of my attitude and my body's attitude needed to have certain foods until they didn't, and then I moved slowly to get it to that. You had a second question.
Well, yeah, I'm a podcaster, so I have like 200 more questions. I don't want to hog the time. I know other people have questions. My other question was going to be about what you thought about where we are collectively right now, globally, in terms of consciousness, and where you think we're going, and how we might play a better, more influential role in uplifting vibration.
Beautiful. I didn't include this in my presentation, but I'll give you a brief thumbnail sketch. I called the Earth a one-room schoolhouse. And a one-room schoolhouse out in the prairie of wherever you are, out in the woods of wherever you are, is a schoolhouse that has all the grades within the one room. And you have 1 or 2 teachers for all of those grades. Thinking of it in terms of soul bodies are not all the same age. And so we have people that are walking around in adult physical bodies, but they have a very childish soul body. And so they're not able to understand or comprehend what you are. Just like the child coming into the one-room schoolhouse may be in elementary school, and you've gone through college because you're the teacher. You're not more important than that child. And so nobody on earth is more important than anyone else. But there are those of us that are more advanced, and I include all of you in the same, in the same capacity as myself. We are more advanced because we have been through more incarnations. Our soul has been through so much. And that is opening us up. You're then born into a physical body, and the soul has to hang out until the physical body and the physical emotional body and the physical mental body begin to realize that self-realization of the soul's presence. And then all of a sudden you realize, well, I'm not the physical body, and I'm actually not the soul body. I'm the event in between. I'm the experience of the soul body in a physical body, and that's what's called my consciousness. And if I can expand that consciousness, I expand it into the realm of soul, I expand it into the realm of physical health, financial wealth, relational success, all of these things. And then I can be a walking example. So that is what we are, all of those of us on this call, to varying degrees. But come on, you're all postgraduates in this world of spirituality. Truly you are. I know that for a fact. I've been to so many of Tony's large gatherings, and I've been to so many Platt gatherings. I know all of you because we get very close very quickly. And so a lot of the world, and I have it in ratios, but I won't go into it right now, a vast majority of the world, like the vast majority in a one-room schoolhouse, are not at the level of the teacher, are not at the level of the graduate students. There's a lot more in preschool, in elementary school, in middle school, etc. Just using that as a metaphor. And those are the ones that we need to lead by example and be more loving than critical. I mean, we're all experiencing it economically, politically, medically with the pandemic. We have to be very clear and very aware that everybody is doing their best, even the ones that are just extremely nasty. And there is a way of influencing them. But like Gary said at the beginning, he wanted to influence 500 million. Let's make that a good small goal. Because if we can get a few tens of millions of people that are in that Masaya condition, in that enlightened condition, over the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, we'll all still be around. If we can do that, then that is going to have leverage to lift the world, which is in answer to your question. Not everybody on earth is going to be of that higher frequency, but the way in which they will be led will be in a higher frequency. Instead of having, the world right now is a bit like Lord of the Flies instead of Lord of the Rings, because right now it is the preschoolers that are all having a food fight, and that's kind of leading the world because they're the aggressive ones. But this is a long-term plan, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50-year plan, that we will then lift this planet's frequency so we don't demolish the planet's ability to sustain life. Beautiful question.
Guru Singh, on that point, I heard it from somewhere that we came here to learn to love, to learn to serve. And the current opportunity with the amount of chaos in this world, it presents us the greatest opportunity to serve and demonstrate our love unconditionally.
Yeah. Yes, it does. And those of us that are of this nature, those of us that are of a greater awareness, which, as I said before, all of you are, all of us are, just need to be able to work with that greater awareness. And like Gary, you said at the beginning, you know, you would practice and practice, and then all of a sudden something in life would take place, and you would be right back to your, you know, your emotional or chaotic self. And we all have to practice and learn to forgive ourselves and others as we fail in our practice. And then that forgiveness, which simply means to give yourself forward to the present moment. Forgive is a reversed word. Give forth, give forth, give forth. And it gives your emotional body that's charged in a past moment, holding on to something that happened to you or somebody that discredited you. You're releasing that and giving all that energy that you have. You're divesting of that investment and giving all of that literal energy back forth into this moment. It's like unloading a bad investment and coming into the present with what you have to give.
Awesome. So we have time for, I think, one or two more questions.
Me.
Yay.
Guru Singh, thank you for the time. And Gary also. I would like to know what does ek onkar mean on your drawing? Because I have a song and I love the song and I chant it, but I don't know. I would really love for you to tell me what does it mean. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, ek means one. Ik means one. Ong means that portal of creation. And kar means the creation itself. So it means that through one portal of creation, here I am. So ik ong kar means through that gateway, here I am as that soul body, as that physical body, as all of the connection of all of that. So it is really talking, ek ong kar is really talking about how we got here. You know, because time and space are just calculations by the sensory system. There really is no time and space outside of the physical world. Space is everything and nothing, and time is all things in one thing. And so ik onkar is basically just describing in brief terms how we come from that everything into being in this physical body with this physical mind and with this physical attitude.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good question.
Who's the lucky last?
Well, I'll ask one really quickly. I want to do the program. Do I have to have done heaps of yoga or anything like that before I do the program? Or can I just go in complete green thumb?
You can do any time in life, because we are very much like a martial arts class where you have all of the newcomers and all of the very advanced all in the same room. And it's the very advanced, you know, that are helping the newcomers, and the camaraderie in these courses is what really helps. And so the answer is you don't have to have any prerequisites whatsoever. As a matter of fact, sometimes it helps not to have something, you know, to learn. You don't have to unlearn things that may not serve you. So I welcome everyone, no matter how. This is not about advanced yoga. This is about successful living. This is about self-mastery.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm excited. I'm going to sign up now.
Good for you. Bless you.
Awesome. Cool. So Guru Singh, really appreciate your time for being here, and appreciate everyone for bringing your presence and just being here. It's great in this current climate to see all of your lovely faces and feel your energy in this presence. I look forward
Let's
to
give a shout out to Gary, huh? Gary, God bless you, man. You pulled us all together.
Yeah, and thank you for Tony and Sage for bringing us together as well. So yeah, maybe to finalize this, I guess to conclude, maybe we'll just unmute ourselves and say whatever you want to Guru Singh, and we'll drop off one by one. Yeah.
Thank you, both of you.
Oh, bless you.
Thank
you
so
very much, Gary and Guru Singh. Much appreciated.
Peace and blessings to everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This has been incredible.
Thank you.
Oh, wow.
Thank you, Gary and Guru. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you all. Great to spend this time with all of you. Thank you.
Many blessings. Thank you.
Yes, many blessings. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you from Orlando, Florida.
Thank
you, Gary. Thank you, Guru Singh.
Wow. Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Thank
you, Gary. Thank you, Guru Singh. Thank you so much. This was so beautiful. Beautiful.
Wow.
Thank you both.
Thank you so much.
Nice blue.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you so much, Gary. Thank you for
Thank
saying.
you, everyone.
Thank you so very much. Bye.
Gary, you're gonna have to kick us off.
I was gonna say, we're all gonna kick off, but I just wanted to say, I can't even tell you, you know, when something, you know, the Kundalini moment, I was having one right before the call because it was like, I needed this so bad. I was calling out for it and I was like, I just need some confirmation. And then it just came together. So it's critical point for me with all the tension and the friction and everything else on that space. So I was like, I just need a sign.
Wow.
So thank you. You have no idea. You'll read about it one day in my book. I will mention this. It's a very big sign and confirmation for me.
Bless you.
It's beautiful, Pixie.
Thanks from Sydney, Australia. It was a bit like drinking through a fire hose, but wow, that was just awesome.
Yeah, it slows down in the course because you have more time. You don't have this 2-hour window, right? So the fire hose becomes a fountain of joy.
Mm.
Okay, I guess no one else is leaving. We'll just have to end the session now.
We're gonna have to end it. We'll be here forever.
We're just all enjoying each other's presence here.
Yes. Thank you, everyone.